Hello my friends and welcome back to Easy Oil Painting. Okay, it's been a while since I've been on, and that's because I have been very ill. I had a very bad eye infection, so I couldn't see properly for about 3 weeks, and that's why I'm not on camera, because I don't want you to see my big red bloodshot eye. It's been very sore for the past 3 weeks, and I suffer with this every now and then. It comes on all of a sudden. It gets very dry, very irritated, very red, and I just cannot see properly for days and days and days, sometimes 2 weeks. So I haven't been able to paint much in the past 2 to 3 weeks. That's why I couldn't get any videos uploaded. It's just getting better now. It's still very, very red, but I didn't want to chance painting something and halfway through my eyes running and getting watery and all that kind of thing. They are very sore still. So look, I apologise for not getting anything uploaded more recently. I hope you understand. Anyway, this time I'm going to paint a beautiful little scene of a fisherman in autumn. Lovely autumn, browny, reddy colours with a fisherman standing in the water, a silhouette of a little fisherman standing. Very bright colours, some very dark colours, a nice bit of contrast. I think this will be a nice little painting to help you along and develop your skills. So I have a 16 by 12 canvas. This is not primed. I didn't prime it myself. It's just a shop bought canvas, and it feels a little dry. I don't know if you feel this sometimes. Sometimes with more of a kind of a budget canvas, you'll feel it slightly dry. So I'm going to give this canvas a coat of my thinners. And I get a lot of questions about my thinners almost weekly. So what I'll say to you is, I have about 80% turpentine in here and 20% linseed oil. Any regular cheap linseed oil will do fine. Pour about 20% of that in, give it a good shake, and you have a lovely little thinners. And that's all I use for prepping my canvas, for thinning my paints. That's all I need. Now I'm going to take some tissue here. I'm just going to get some of this out. It's kind of a slightly yellow colour. You can't see that there now. It's only slightly yellowy in colour. But what this does is, it takes up some of the soakage in the canvas. So when you come to painting, the canvas won't soak in the paint as much. It will still a little bit, but it won't be as bad. Now I should have used a cloth for this, because you can see the paper coming off. But never mind, we'll be fine. Let's just go with the flow. As they say, let's go with the flow. And I'm just giving that a very slightly damp coat, okay? Now this is even drying into the canvas as we speak already. But I think just that little bit might just help stop the paint from soaking in so quickly. Do you understand what I mean? Even though it's still kind of soaking in, it might just slow it down a little bit so we can blend colours. Let me tell you what colours I have in my palette. Cadmium yellow pale, titanium white, naples yellow, magenta, cadmium red, burnt umber, burnt sienna, phaylo blue. I might not even need phaylo blue, to be honest. Lamp black and some crimson. The crimson and the cadmium red, I'm not sure if I need. Maybe the cadmium red, just for some autumn colours. I'm not sure about the crimson. I was going to paint something else, but I changed my mind at the very last minute. But I had my colours already on the palette. You'll see what we're doing as we go along anyway. Okay, my friends? Let's start painting this and get something nice on the canvas. Yes? Let's start having some fun. I'm taking any large brush, any large big brush that you have. Look, soft, synthetic, soft brush. Let's have a bit of fun. I'm going to dampen this brush. It's only slightly damp. And very bright colours. There's a reference photograph, okay? Very bright colour up on top. I'm going to say white with naples yellow. And maybe a touch of cadmium yellow, just a touch. Now that's too rich. Far, far too rich altogether. I need lots of white in this. It's almost pure white. I have a kind of a yellowy white here. Let's have a look. Okay, let's take a bit more white and a bit more naples. The naples is a much softer yellow, I find, don't you? If you use naples yellow, it's a much more forgiving yellow to work with, and it's a softer yellow. Perfect for something like this. Let's just pop this in. And that damp canvas now is really helping already, you see? You see how that's going right across, just in 2 brush strokes. If this wasn't primed, if this was just kind of a dry, well, if it wasn't oiled, if it was just a dry canvas, that would just soak right in immediately after putting it on. So that little bit of thinners on the canvas just helped a little bit. So there we go, a little bit more Naples yellow and a little more white. I'm just going to have fun with this today. Today, I'm just going to have some fun and get back into the swing of painting because, as I said, I haven't painted in a while, to be quite honest. I did 1 or 2 commissions while I was sick, but I didn't get a chance really to sit down and do a tutorial for you. And I miss that. I miss having a chat with yourselves and, you know, a bit of a laugh and a bit of a joke. I miss all of that. So I'm glad to be back. I really am. So I have a nice bright colour now. I'm going to start going into a soft brown colour. You see that soft brown colour we have? Like almost like a grey brown sort of a hue. I'm going to take some burnt sienna, go into that, and a touch of black. Tiny little touch of black. Look, tiniest little touch. And what I'm aiming for here is a sort of a soft grey brown kind of a tone. Little bit of thinners in there. Now let me try that, because I want to create distance in this painting, right? And the way to create distance is have soft colours in the background. Little bit more black perhaps, just a touch, tiny little touch. So we have a nice soft browny kind of a shade going on in the background. Maybe a little bit more black. You can make it more grey if you like. But I'm looking at the colours of the rest of the painting and I want everything to sort of gel together nicely. So there's a lot of grey and a lot of sort of brown in this. So, you know, add plenty of grey and plenty of brown. Now with this big brush, I'm just going to go up here and just very loosely start tapping in the suggestion of the tops of those trees. Really just to give you a little impression of some trees off in the distance. Nothing fancy. Just go along then and tap that slightly darker shade here and there. And you see that just creates a little bit of interest in the background, doesn't it? Just a little touch of interest. So as we come down, I am going to start taking more burnt umber and perhaps a touch of sienna with some white. And I'm just going to start warming it ever so slightly as it comes down. Now you can see where this has dried in. My thinners, it's completely dried in. And you see how dry this is now, look. You see how dry that is. It's soaking the paint right in and it's hardly covering at all. So I'm going to take more of my thinners, just a little bit of thinners on your little piece of rag or whatever, and just pop another little bit of that around. And so you see, you can do this in stages if you like, as you're going. There is one other thing I would like to mention as well, and that is sometimes I do just put linseed oil on its own on a canvas. But that's really only if I'm doing something big. I would oil the canvas with some linseed oil on its own, completely on its own. Just rub down your canvas with some linseed oil for a big sky or something like that. There, you see, isn't that better now, look? And it's a nice thin layer, which is what I want. Now, some sienna, little black. See, we're going into more subtle kind of browny shades. And I want to put a decent bit of colour on the canvas. Now, I don't want to go too thin, because if you go too thin with the oils, you will see the canvas grain underneath. You see that? And I don't want that. I want to cover the canvas properly. So just slightly thicker. I'm going to come down to about here and stop, look. And I'm going to soften this around. merge that up into that grey colour and the brown, and merge it all around. Bring it all together. So we have a lovely soft feeling, don't we, on that background colour. Nice and simple. Already you can see a misty kind of a feeling we have going on. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is just grab some more white on my palette. Let's get some white up there. And I'm going to just give this brush a quick clean on my paper towel here. Get some of that paint off, not all of it. It doesn't have to be spotless. And I'm going to go into some white and a touch of Naples yellow. And this is nice thick paint now, okay? Nice thick paint, look. And let's create a little bit of mist in here. You see the direction of that mist going up and to the left. Bring it down just like that and soften it around into the outside colour. But you see what I'm doing? I'm not softening it out completely. I'm leaving a direction of it. Do you understand? I don't want to just lose everything. I want to create the direction of mist going off up and to the left. So just with the very tip of your brush, just go around in little circles. And you can use any brush you like for this. Whatever you like. So a little bit more. It gets nice and bright down on this side here, doesn't it? Let's put plenty of that down here. And soften it around. And then, to create that wonderful glow that we have in the mist, you can see that beautiful glow, I'm going to just clean my brush again. And this time, I'm going to use cadmium yellow with some white. Now that should give us a really nice bright glow in the mist. There we go. Bring that down there, go right across all the way, and then soften around the edge, nice and gently. And you can do this as much as you like. You can go over 10 times, or you can just do it once and leave it. It's completely up to yourself, whatever you prefer. It's your painting, you decide. And I'm going to go down the bottom now with some brighter shade, cadmium yellow and a little white. Go along the bottom to get that nice extra bit of a glow just along the bottom. So now that's not looking bad. It's not looking too bad, let's be honest. It's okay. I'm happy enough with that. And you know something? It doesn't have to be perfect. And I never try to get my paintings perfect. If there's a little mistake here and there, I'm quite happy to leave it as long as I'm happy. So what I would say to people is try not to get every single painting absolutely perfect each time, because you just cause yourself more stress trying to do that. Just have a bit of fun. If you make a mistake, if it's not that bad, just leave it. Now a little bit of that bright whitey yellow along there, and then I'm going to just kind of soften it where they meet, like that. Now before I go any further, I'm going to start putting in these lovely warm autumn trees up here. So let me give this brush one quick clean, just a little bit, and warm, rich autumn colours. Let's go. Let's try some burnt sienna and some cadmium yellow. That should give us a nice soft autumn colour, shouldn't it? And if that's very rich for you, if you think it's a little bit too rich, you can either use some white or Naples yellow. I will go with Naples yellow because it has a hint of yellow in it anyway, and that will make it nice and pasty, you see? And do remember, we're painting this onto slightly wet paint, so that lighter colour is going to mix with this colour, making it slightly lighter as we go along. Let me show you. So I'm just going to pick a point here. Okay, just with the corner of the brush, you see? And let's go up like that and around. So I'm picking up the colour from the background as well, you see. Now I'm going to add a touch of white into that. I think it needs to be slightly softer. So I'm picking up the colour as well from the background, which is making the colour almost lighter as well. And you see what's happening? I'm softening this down into the colour underneath. Okay. Now we could add a little touch of that while we have it on our brushes to this side. Let's just pop a little bit of that in there. And you see the nice thing about using these simple flat brushes, they just give you a very fuzzy feeling on the canvas, you see. It opens up and it just misses and hits and misses here and there. And that's what I like about using these big brushes sometimes. You can, if you like, just go and pick up a small brush and just start painting small little pieces as you go along. Yeah, it's up to yourself completely. But sometimes, you know what, a big brush like this, it just gives you nice, simple foliage. Nothing too complicated. But it just gives you a nice little foliage. Let's take a touch of black and put a little black in there. And just fill this in, swirling the brush around in different directions. I'll go out a little bit further with this because I don't want to end up with just a straight line here. I'm going to bring it out a bit down the bottom here, around the middle. And I'm going to make a darker colour for the other side, some burnt umber, a little burnt sienna, and perhaps a little black, just to give it a slightly shaded colour. I'm going to go down here and just add some of that down along here, and I'm going to leave it disappear outwards very slightly, and I'm going to go up with this, just sort of softening it upwards as I go, you see, bringing it out. And there's a very good reason I'm doing this, and you'll see why in a moment. I want to create some darks with some lights, so it's a good idea to have a dark shade in there as well, and not just have a bright colour in there. So these darks will become the shadowed areas, if you like. Okay, now I'll go a little bit darker on this side, burnt umber with some black, and I'm going to go nice and strong just around this side. You see that nice little strong bit we have there coming out? And maybe a little bit there, and just a touch up into the light as well. And I'm going to go higher with this. I think I'll go a little bit higher. Let's take some burnt sienna and go up a little bit higher with that. It does go quite a ways up, doesn't it? So I have some of the trees put in on the sides. I know they may not seem quite as rich at the moment, but I will be making these much stronger as I go. The next thing I'm going to do is take some white and Naples yellow, and I'm just going to kind of soften this in to the mist. So it disappears over into the mist and down the bottom as well. You can see we have a lovely mist coming in at the bottom. Just kind of soften it across. Now you can, if you like, grab a little soft brush and soften all this together, look. Lovely misty feeling down towards the bottom of the trees and over into the water and all of that. Nice misty feeling. Isn't that lovely? So I'm really liking the way it's kind of softening down. It's different, isn't it? Let's paint some nice lighter shades on this. I'm going to clean that brush, the very same brush. Just give it a quick clean and go right into some cadmium yellow and then some burnt sienna. You can use maybe a touch of cadmium red as well. I'm going for a nice warm autumn colour, not more or less a yellowy colour, but more on the warm reddy side of autumn colours. So a bit more of the red. Let's see what we end up with. And I love this. I love trying different things and seeing what's going to happen. It's really fun. It's what I really like about painting. I'm going to just pop some of that lighter shade along here and there. I'm going to come out here and look at one or two as well. And I could probably even make it a slightly richer colour. So let's try some more yellow and some more red. Bit more red, touch of sienna. So I'm kind of going from one to the other, you see what I mean? Just trying different things and seeing what happens. That's what it's all about. Okay, that's not bad, is it? Look, it's once you think it looks nice, that's the important thing. Once you think it looks nice and you're happy with it, that's all that matters, my friends, okay? Now I'll just use some of that and just come down like this. Look, just fill this in, this area. You can see it just comes down and there's a lot of kind of bits of branches and stuff coming out of it there. Doesn't have to be anything too fancy, really. Maybe just put a few little grasses like this, look, popping out here and there. Take some burnt umber, pop a few grasses here and there. Do you know, it's just to create a bit of interest in the painting, that's all it is. I'm not too fussy, really, I'll be honest. I just really want to make this painting something nice and easy to follow and something sort of pleasurable, if you understand. Now, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush because I want to try some smaller foliage, slightly sort of brighter foliage, okay? I'm going for my large stubby brush. It's dry. Take some cadmium yellow, naples yellow, and a touch of burnt sienna with some white. Now this seems like a bright yellowy colour, but I just want to add a little highlight onto some of these here, look. I just want to show the sunlight kind of catching these on some edges. Okay, like that, you see what I mean? We don't have to overdo this. And just maybe one or two soft ones down towards the bottom. And that will do fine. I think that's all we need. I'm now going to grab a palette knife. I'm just going to clean one of my brushes here because you know what? I have a terrible habit of not cleaning brushes properly, and that's my downfall, my biggest downfall, not cleaning brushes. I'm going to get a palette knife, grab some bright white, and let's just go for it. Let's just have a bit of fun, okay? Let's scrape some white across there like that. Come on, don't be shy. Grab your palette knife. Don't be shy at all. It's only a palette knife, it's not going to hurt you. Grab it, let's go. Take a little bit of cadmium yellow as well. And let's just drag that across the water, creating a little bit of a sparkle just there as well. You see that? Just come on, go. Don't be afraid. Come on. This is what it's all about, having some fun, isn't it? There we go. Come on. Let's go. It's only a little piece of canvas. It's not going to do anything to us. If we get it wrong, we can go back over it again. Now, Then what I'm going to do is take some more of that colour and I'm going to go up into my mist slightly, and I want to just sort of soften that line kind of up into the mist a bit. You see that? Without going crazy. Just soften it up. I have my palette knife flat on the canvas, okay? Create a little bit of texture. Come on. And then finally, just a bit of white. Get a nice bright colour just across the middle there. Doesn't have to be perfect at all. I think that's coming along quite nice. So I'm taking some white and some yellow. Tiny bit of yellow now, that's all. Tiny bit. And I'm just going to create some nice highlights showing here and there. It's sort of like a little bit of glitter, okay? Just a little touch of glitter here and there on the water. Dab the knife here and there. And you know, it just gives it that little bit of texture, I find. Then I'm going to move down and start doing this dark brown. Now you can see how much we've done here in the space of 25 minutes. But I'm going to put some little branches in next. That's the next job. Let's do some nice branches, my friends. Small pointy brush. And we'll go for some burnt umber with some black, yes? Burnt umber, little black. And you can see I've only used a handful of colours so far. I still haven't used 3 of my colours. So really, you could paint something like this with 4 or 5 colours. No problem at all. Let's take that blacky brown mix and let's just put some branches in here and there. They'll come down and sort of disappear into the painting. I'll put another one again, just there like that. And you can soften it with your finger as well, look. Just soften it in. It doesn't have to go anywhere particular, it can just disappear down there into the undergrowth. And perhaps 1 or 2 more coming off at a slight angle up there. I'm using plenty of thinners in this as well, by the way. It's not thick paint, because if you try to put thick paint on this, it's going to get very messy, I think. And with some thin paint, it just glides along nicely and gives you some just nice, simple little branches. You see? And bear in mind, we only need to put a couple of branches in on this. We don't have to go crazy putting hundreds of different branches and, you know, all that kind of stuff and twigs and all that. You don't need to do that at all. Just 1 or 2, suggestion of 1 or 2. That's all you need. Then I'll just go over that with some of my earlier colour just to hide some of them. Just like that, look. And that's all I need to do. I'm happy enough. We also have a couple on the other side, don't we? Let's pop a few of those in. I hope you're enjoying this now, by the way. It's just a nice, simple, fun little tutorial for you to try and have a bit of fun with. You know, it's all done in a very light-hearted nature. You know, I'm not going to sit here and give out to people because they've done it wrong. I'm not that kind of a teacher. I like to allow students to just go their own way and be open and be fresh in their thoughts and do what they want to do, not what I want them to do. Now, a couple of grasses in here like this, look. Put a couple of little bits and bobs around in there. All we're trying to do here with this is create a little bit of interest. A little bit of something coming out across the water there like that, you see? And it's all just little tiny brush strokes to create create the impression of something being there. That's all it is. And we don't really have to go any further with that. Let's just cover some of that one there with some Naples yellow, block it in a little bit. And we're done that far already. Now, wasn't that so easy? Just that little bit. Let's carry on. Let's carry on. I'm enjoying this. Let's get some more thinners and just dampen the bottom end of our canvases just there, okay? Just a bit like that. Plenty on. Don't be shy. It will soak in. And let's put a nice dark colour down here. Let's go for some burnt umber and some lamp black. I'm going to take a touch of magenta. I'm going to just warm it ever so slightly. I want this to be kind of a soft-ish colour, but not too dark, if you understand. So I'm taking some white, some burnt sienna in there as well. And I'm going to just go like this. Just test it, see what you think. Okay, I'll go with that. It's kind of a base colour anyway. So it's really just to cover the white of the canvas. And that's what I do generally. I paint on a thin layer of colour, a medium shade of what you're painting. So find a kind of a medium shade in between and just paint your canvas that colour. And you can then go along and put darks and lights over that. So look, I'm going to just take some white as I come up and start adding some white into that. Leave it soften away. Very gently. Bring it left and right. And you can see by looking at the reflections on the reference photograph, it's all just left and right, isn't it? Very subtle little lines, left and right. Up into the white and bring the white back down, allowing all of this lovely colour to kind of merge together. Okay, there we go. Isn't this fun? I'm really enjoying this. And this is just the kind of painting that I really love to paint, because it doesn't have to be complicated, you know. You can make it complicated if you like, but you don't have to make it too complicated. Just keep it simple, loose and simple. Already you can see we have some nice little watery type reflections going on. But let's go a little bit further. Let's go further than that. I think we can do better than that, can't we? I'm going to get a nice little flat brush, a cheap flat brush, okay? Very cheap. You buy these in any little craft shop. Soft, synthetic. Let's dampen it slightly. I'm now going to start putting in slightly lighter shades here and there. Some white, Naples yellow, and with that colour, maybe a touch of this browny shade as well. Look, a very light brown. Let's call this a very light brown, just to keep it simple. I'm going to just start putting in little ripples like this, look. And I'm basically just starting to fill in the slightly lighter shades on the painting. And then we'll put in some darker ones, you see, in between these. And it's you know, it's just about balance, really, finding a balance. Not too much light, not too much dark. I'm going to just take some of this slightly brown colour here, the slightly darker shade, and just start going up slightly into the lighter shade, look. Drag some lines. Always go horizontal with your lines, like this, left and right all the time. Don't go up and down or anything like that, just left and right. I'll stop at that. Okay, I've enough of that done. Next we can go into some darks. We're going to make some dark colours now. But before I do, should I paint in the Fisherman or should I not? I think I'll just go with some darker shades first, surrounding the Fisherman. Let's go with some burnt umber. little touch of black, a little touch of red perhaps. So that gives us a nice rich colour. And I'm going to start coming out here like this and then creating some little ripples. Let's try that again. I'm basically using just paint on its own. There's no thinners in this. Excuse me. So we just keep going like this, putting some darker shades in, just start filling it in. And this is where the contrast will come into play, the dark against the light and the light against the dark. This is where it all will start coming into place. And you will see, even as you're painting, you'll start to notice the painting kind of almost sort of coming to life, if you understand. Just by putting a few darks next to a few lights, you will see how everything interacts. Now look, I could put in the fisherman's reflection while I have this colour here. He's going to be around here, yes. So let's just go like this. You see, and I'm following those ripples as well. I'm following some of the lighter ripples. Okay. We'll do his legs later on. I mean, look, we could put in an impression of some of his legs here like this. Okay. We don't have to, but I could just pop a little bit of it in, just like that. You know, keep it simple. I keep saying it, and I will keep saying it. And I know you're probably sick of listening to me saying, keep it simple. But really, just have a bit of fun. All right? Please, just have a bit of fun with this. It's only a painting. I'm going to start putting in some crimson with black, just here and there in some of these, look. Softening them together. Just drag a little bit of that black and crimson across over some of your darks. A little bit of warm colour will just help, and I'm going to just drag some of those across as well. Softening it up, left and right, look. Now, let me stop and stand back and take a look. The next thing I'm going to do is, with the same brush, pop in some lighter shades on this. I'm going to take some white, little touch of cadmium yellow, and I'm simply going to just put in some lighter colours just here and there around some of those. See what I mean? And the beauty about the oil paint is you can see how everything just sort of merges together, creating lovely shades. Now you could do this with acrylics as well if you really wanted to, you know, using mediums to slow the drying process and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's much easier and it's much more pleasant to do this with oil paints because they just have a lovely soft feeling about them. It's very hard to describe. Now I'm just going to soften all of this together here with my little soft brush. So nice and soft. And then I'm also going to pop in some of the warm colour as well. You can see we have some of that warm colour. So let's take some cadmium red, burnt sienna. And in general, that colour will always be slightly darker in the reflection, as a general rule of thumb. So I'm going to make a nice dark orangey sort of a shade, browny kind of an orange, but something similar to what's above. So let's try this sort of dull orangey kind of a colour now, and just pop some of this in, look. Just soften it right through, and that just gives you the impression, just here and there, look, that gives you the impression of that colour just sort of bouncing off of the reflections as well. And it's a very dry brush. I hardly have any paint on my brush at all, just the tiniest little bit. And that little touch of colour, I think, makes all the difference. Now I'm going to really soften some of these together, because my next step is to grab a palette knife again. So we keep going back to our palette knife, and that's good. The palette knife is your friend. I know a lot of people who are afraid to use a palette knife. They're just afraid. It frightens them, but don't leave the palette knife win, okay? Whatever you do. I'm just going to drag the palette knife across here and there, sort of, just to create that little touch of kind of sparkle here and there on the water. A little bit of sparkle, particularly up on top. And then as it comes down, you could even just leave it kind of hit and miss here and there, look, through the reflection. And that just creates a little touch of sparkle on the water. And you can always, if you like, take a little pointy brush and just put a couple of little dots here and there. Just to show, you know, little tiny touches of glitter on the water here and there. It just sort of carries them down, doesn't it? And it gives the water that little bit of movement as well. Now, that's it. I'm going to move on and do the Fisherman. The Fisherman will be tricky in the sense that we're going through white paint. Okay, very, very bright white paint. So let's just keep this paint nice and thick. Lots of brown, lots of black. Nice thick paint. Let's start painting. Okay, we have a leg coming out like that, and it comes in slightly. Give it a bit of a wiggle. And you will have to paint this a few times. It'll take a bit of practice to get this right. Doesn't have to be perfect, because it is just an impression of someone's leg. And the next side, it comes over at a side angle. Look, you see, just have a quick look. Comes over at a side angle. There we go. No messing around. Let's just go and have a bit of fun. Okay. Comes up, there's a little bit of a bump sticking out the back. Just keep cleaning your brush each time. And we have kind of an arm coming out like that. It may look a bit funny now. I can't tell from where I'm sitting if you can see at a slight angle or not. Maybe I'm making a mess of all this, I don't know. But I'm going to have a bit of fun trying anyway, I can tell you that much. Okay, let's make his legs a little bit thicker there. And we might just pop a little head on this person. A little bit bigger. I find when painting characters like this, the most difficult thing is getting the scale just right for me. Don't you agree? I just find getting the scale just right it can be very difficult sometimes, getting the head right with the body and all of that. So we have the arm comes out like that, okay. It's not bad so far, lads, is it? Huh? Not bad. I am only going for an impression. I'm not trying to paint the man's face and all of that, you know what I mean? I just wanted an impression. We get a slightly darker up on top, and it kind of almost, I suppose, fades as it comes down. And he has all sorts of little things hanging off him, doesn't he? Here's a little piece coming out the back like that. Could be something that he's carrying. Something there. Okay, could be a bag or something. Then we have his little fishing rod. I'm going to get a small pointy little brush for that. And let's take some black, plenty of thinners, and let's just go like that, and let's put a little fishing reel down there as well. Now the next part is very important. I don't want to mess this part up. So I'm going to need a very, very small pointy brush. The smaller, better. I'll have to just keep using the one I have. I want to literally just try and use one tiny little hair on the tip of my brush with some light grey, and I want to give this a little swirl as if it's going off like that. You see that? Tiny little swirl. And maybe it's even coming down as well. Where it's just kind of loose under the fishing rod. Do you understand what I mean? Now, how's that? I don't think that's too bad at all. I'll take a little bit of that black and just darken slightly. Some of the reflection just here and there. Okay, just making them slightly stronger. Like that. And I think the very last thing I need to do is to just put a little of that bright whitey colour in and around his feet. Just to separate him and create a little touch of kind of a shimmer as well, here and there. And there we are, my friends. I'm calling this done. It's just a nice simple scene, nothing too complicated. Look, I'll soften this in over here as well, just a bit, just to take the harsh line out of all of that. Give it a little scratch, mess it up just a little bit. You understand what I mean? Mess it up. And we are finished. I'll just stick my little signature now down the end here, because once the signature goes on, I am finished. And I very rarely go back at the painting if my signature is on it. So with that, my friends, I am going to say thank you so much for joining me. I apologise that I couldn't go on camera and have a chat, but my eye is really, it's in a bad way, and I don't want you to be losing your appetite. Isn't that right? So thank you so much, my friends. I will see you very soon with another tutorial. I have Patreon tutorials coming up. If you're on Patreon, I have quite a nice one coming up for you, a similar scene. Okay? Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you again. Happy painting, my friends. Take care and God bless. See you soon.